Maya Chen loved the big windows on Kepler Station. The 8-year-old girl pressed her nose against the glass and watched the stars twinkle in the black space outside. Her father, Dr. James Chen, worked in the medical bay helping different alien species understand each other's bodies. Maya thought his job was the coolest thing ever. "Stay close, sweetie," Dr. Chen called as he talked to a tall blue alien about medicine. Maya nodded but kept looking at the pretty lights outside. The station was huge, with thousands of beings from dozens of different worlds. Most of them were nice to Maya. They thought human children were cute. Maya's red ball bounced away from her. She had been playing catch with herself while waiting for her dad to finish work. The ball rolled down the hallway toward the security area. Maya ran after it, her small feet patting on the metal floor. Lieutenant Commander HFY stood guard near the main entrance. She was a Thylorian, which meant she looked like a big bug that walked on 2 legs. Her kind ruled most of the galaxy's security forces. They thought they were better than everyone else, especially humans. HFY carried a long metal stick that could break through the hard shell of her own people. To her, it was a symbol of power. Maya didn't know any of this. She only knew her ball had rolled near the scary-looking alien's feet. She bent down to pick it up. "Watch where you're going, Deathworlder!" HFY hissed in the common language. Her voice sounded like grinding metal. Maya looked up with big brown eyes. "Sorry, miss. I just want my ball." HFY saw the small human child and felt angry. Humans came from Earth, which the galaxy called a death world. This meant their planet was so dangerous that most aliens would die there quickly. But humans seemed so weak and soft. How could they be from such a terrible place? For weeks, HFY had watched humans walk around the station like they belonged there. They smiled at everyone. They helped other species with problems. They acted like they were equals to the great Thylorian Empire. This made HFY very angry. "Your kind doesn't belong here," HFY said, pointing her weapon at Maya. "Deathworld animals should stay in cages." Maya didn't understand the mean words. She just wanted her ball. She reached for it, accidentally touching HFY's foot. That was enough. In HFY's mind, a Deathworlder had just attacked her. It didn't matter that Maya was a child. It didn't matter that she was barely 3 feet tall. All HFY saw was an inferior species daring to touch a superior officer. HFY lifted her metal staff high above her head. Maya looked up just as the weapon came down. The heavy rod hit the little girl's head with a sick, cracking sound. Maya flew backward and hit the station wall. Her small body slid down to the floor. Blood began to pool under Maya's head. Her eyes stared at nothing. She wasn't moving. Dr. Chen heard the noise from down the hall. Something inside him knew it was wrong. He ran toward the sound, his heart beating fast. What he saw made his world stop. His daughter lay on the floor in a pool of blood. Her skull was cracked open. Her beautiful brown eyes were empty. Above her stood HFY, still holding the bloody weapon. "Maya!" Dr. Chen screamed. He dropped to his knees beside his daughter. He pulled her tiny body into his arms. Blood covered his hands and clothes. "She attacked me," HFY said calmly. "I had the right to defend myself against a Deathworlder assault." Dr. Chen looked up at the alien who had killed his child. Tears ran down his face. But behind the tears, something else was growing. Something dark and cold. Station security arrived quickly. They were all Thylorians. They listened to HFY's report and nodded. In their records, they wrote that Officer HFY had properly defended herself against an aggressive Deathworlder. Case closed. Maya died in her father's arms 3 minutes later. Her last word was, "Daddy." Dr. Chen held his daughter's body and wept, but inside his mind, he was remembering things. He remembered stories his grandfather told about old Earth, stories about what humans did when someone hurt their children. Stories about why other species should be afraid of the things that lived on death worlds. Other humans on the station heard what happened. They came to help Dr. Chen. They saw Maya's small, broken body. They saw the Thylorian guards who didn't care. They saw the official report that called an 8-year-old girl's murder justified. Word spread quickly through human space. Dr. Chen's friends sent messages to Earth. They sent pictures of Maya's body. They sent copies of the official report. They sent the security video that showed exactly what happened. On Earth, people watched their screens in silence. They saw little Maya Chen reach for her ball. They saw her try to say sorry to the big alien. They saw the metal staff crush her skull. They saw her die calling for her daddy. For 50 years, humans had tried to fit into galactic society. They had been polite and peaceful. They had followed the rules and respected other species. They had hidden what they really were. That was about to change. Dr. Chen finally stopped crying. He looked at his daughter's face one last time. Then he looked at the Thylorian guards who were already walking away. His voice was very quiet when he spoke. "You have no idea what you've just done." The guards didn't listen. They should have. In the depths of space, human ships that weren't supposed to exist began to move. On Earth, generals who had been waiting for 50 years received new orders. Across the galaxy, humans who had been pretending to be simple farmers and traders began to remember what they really were. Maya Chen had been just one little girl playing with a red ball, but she was a human child, and humans did not forgive, they did not forget, and they never, ever let someone who hurt their children walk away. The galaxy was about to learn why Earth was really called a death world. Admiral Sarah Rodriguez sat in her office on Earth, reading the report for the 10th time. The words didn't change. Maya Chen, age 8, murdered by a Thylorian officer. Official ruling. Justified response to Deathworlder aggression. The Admiral was a small woman with gray hair and kind eyes. Most aliens who met her thought she seemed harmless. They were wrong about many things concerning humans. Her door opened. General Marcus Torres walked in without knocking. His face was hard as stone. "Ma'am, we've got confirmation. Every detail checks out. They really killed a little girl and called it legal." Admiral Rodriguez closed her eyes. For 50 years, she had followed orders to keep human military strength secret. The galaxy thought humans had a few hundred ships. They thought human weapons were basic. They thought wrong. "What's the status of our real fleet?" she asked. "All ghost ships are moving into position. Deep Space Reconnaissance has eyes on every Thylorian world. Sleeper agents in their government are ready to activate." General Torres put a data pad on her desk. "We have over 3,000 ships they don't know about." The Admiral nodded. She thought about her own granddaughter, who was Maya's age. She thought about what she would do if someone hurt that little girl. "Send a message to the Galactic Council. Tell them we want the officer who killed Maya Chen. Give them 72 hours to hand her over." "And if they refuse?" Admiral Rodriguez stood up. For the first time in 50 years, she stopped pretending to be a peaceful diplomat. "Then we remind them why our planet is rated Class 12. On Kepler Station, Dr. Chen sat by his daughter's body. Captain Elena Vasquez had arrived from Earth. She was Maya's godmother and Dr. Chen's oldest friend. She was also the leader of a military unit that officially didn't exist. "I'm sorry, James," Elena said quietly. She looked at Maya's small form under the white sheet. She was such a beautiful little girl. Dr. Chen didn't cry anymore. He had used up all his tears. "They called her an aggressive Deathworlder, Elena. She was 8 years old and trying to get her ball." Elena knelt beside her friend. She had known Maya since the day she was born. The little girl had called her Aunt Elena and always hugged her when she visited. Now Maya was gone, and the beings who killed her were celebrating. What do you need me to do? Elena asked. Dr. Chen looked at his friend. Elena was small like most human women, but she moved like a predator. She had spent her life studying how to kill things efficiently. Her unit specialized in fighting aliens who thought humans were weak. I want her skull, Dr. Chen said quietly. Elena understood. In the old days on Earth, warriors brought back trophies from battles. They wanted proof that justice had been done. HFYs? Yes. Elena nodded. She had been hoping he would say that. Across the galaxy, the Thylorian High Command received Earth's message. They laughed when they read it. Humans wanted them to surrender one of their officers. These soft Deathworlders thought they could make demands. Commander Veltar was the highest-ranking Thylorian in the military. He had fought many wars and conquered dozens of worlds. Humans seemed like nothing special to him. Yes, their planet was dangerous, but they were just animals that had learned to use tools. Send a reply, he told his aide. Tell the humans that Officer HFY acted properly. Tell them we don't negotiate with inferior species. The aide hesitated. Sir, should we be worried about their threat? Veltar's insect-like face showed amusement. Worried? About humans? Look at them. They're small and soft. They have no natural weapons. They cry when their children die, instead of making new ones. They've been in space for 50 years and barely have any ships. What Veltar didn't know was that human intelligence had been listening to this conversation. They had been listening to Thylorian communications for decades. The Thylorians thought their codes were unbreakable. They were wrong. On Earth, Admiral Rodriguez received the Thylorian response. She wasn't surprised, but she was disappointed. She had hoped they would be smart enough to hand over HFY. Now, many more beings were going to die. She pressed a button on her desk. Across human space, commanders who had been waiting for this moment opened sealed orders. Ships that had been hiding in asteroid fields powered up their engines. Weapons that the galaxy had never seen before came online. The Thylorians thought humans had 300 ships. They actually had over 3,000. The Thylorians thought human weapons were simple plasma cannons. They were wrong about that, too. Dr. Chen worked in his laboratory on Kepler Station. He was a medical doctor who understood alien biology better than almost anyone. But now he was using his knowledge differently. Instead of healing, he was designing ways to kill. Thylorians had weak points in their shell armor. Dr. Chen knew exactly where they were. He knew which drugs would paralyze them. He knew which frequencies would scramble their nervous systems. He had always used this knowledge to help them. Not anymore. Elena found him working late at night. The fleet is almost ready to move, she said. Dr. B. Chen didn't look up from his work. Good. I want to be there when we find her. James, you're a doctor. You save lives. I was a doctor, he replied. Now I'm a father whose child was murdered. There's a difference. Elena watched her friend work. She had seen soldiers broken by war. She had seen people change when they lost everything. But she had never seen someone become so focused, so cold, so absolutely certain of their purpose. The next day, Thylorian patrol ships detected something impossible. Human vessels were appearing in their space, not just a few ships, but hundreds. They moved in patterns the Thylorians had never seen before. They used weapons that shouldn't exist. The first battle lasted 6 minutes. An entire Thylorian patrol fleet was destroyed without damaging a single human ship. The survivors sent panicked messages back to their command. The humans weren't fighting like civilized beings. They were fighting like the predators they had always been. More reports came in every hour. Human ships appeared from nowhere, struck fast, and vanished into space. Thylorian bases went silent. Supply convoys disappeared. It was like fighting ghosts. Commander Veltar stared at the tactical display. In 3 days, humans had done more damage to his empire than any enemy had managed in centuries. How was this possible? Sir, his aide said nervously. "We're getting reports that human civilians are joining the fight. Farmers are piloting warships. Scientists are using research stations as military bases." Veltar finally began to understand. Humans weren't just angry about one dead child. Every human in the galaxy was treating this as a personal attack. An entire species was mobilizing for war. For the first time in his life, Commander Veltar felt afraid. On Earth, Admiral Rodriguez watched the reports with satisfaction. Phase 1 was complete. The Thylorians now knew they were fighting a real military force, but they still didn't understand what they were really up against. "Begin Phase 2, she ordered. In the depths of space, human ships that had been pretending to be exploration vessels revealed their true nature. Research stations became weapons platforms. Colony ships became troop transports. The galaxy began to see humanity's real strength. And in his laboratory, Dr. Chen finished his work. He had created weapons specifically designed to kill the being who had murdered his daughter. Soon, he would get to test them. The Battle of Thylos Prime began at exactly 0800 station time. Commander Veltar watched from his command ship as the human fleet dropped out of hyperspace. What he saw made no sense. The humans had brought over 1,000 ships. Where had they come from? Intelligence reports said humans barely had 300 vessels in their entire fleet. Yet here they were, filling the space around Thylos Prime like a metal storm cloud. "All ships, attack formation," Veltar ordered. His fleet was bigger. His weapons were proven in 100 wars. These soft Deathworlders would learn their place. The Thylorian fleet moved forward in perfect formation. This was how civilized species fought wars. Ships in neat lines, weapons firing in organized patterns, honor preserved through proper tactics. The humans did something different. Instead of meeting them head-on, the human ships scattered like leaves in the wind. They moved in ways that hurt Veltar's eyes to watch. Some ships dove under the Thylorian formation. Others came from above. Many simply vanished from his sensors. "Where did they go?" Veltar demanded. His weapons officer checked his instruments. "Sir, I'm reading massive energy signatures throughout the system, but I can't lock onto specific targets." That's when the real attack began. Human ships appeared behind Thylorian vessels like hunting wolves. They struck fast and hard, then disappeared before return fire could reach them. Veltar watched his proud fleet torn apart by enemies who fought without honor. "They're not following proper combat protocols," his tactical officer said. "No," Veltar realized with growing horror. "They're hunting us." On the human flagship, Admiral Rodriguez watched the battle with cold satisfaction. The Thylorians fought like most galactic species, predictable, formal, bound by rules of engagement. Humans fought like the apex predators they had always been. "Ma'am, enemy formation is breaking apart," reported Captain Hayes. "They're trying to retreat to the inner system." "Let them run," Rodriguez said. "Predators always chase fleeing prey." In the medical bay of Captain Vasquez's ship, Dr. Chen prepared his equipment. He wore military armor now, painted black like his mood. His medical training had taught him exactly how to kill each species efficiently. Today, he would use that knowledge. "Target located," Elena announced over the ship's communication system. "Zex High is commanding the defense of Cairo Station." Dr. Chen smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. "Good. She picked a place where she can't run." Cairo Station was supposed to be impossible to capture. It sat in the middle of an asteroid field, protected by weapon platforms and shield generators. The Thylorians called it their strongest fortress. They had never fought humans before. Elena's ship, the Vengeance, slipped through the asteroid field like a shadow. Her crew had trained for this kind of fighting their whole lives. While other species built big ships and fought in open space, humans learned to use stealth and cunning. "Boarding teams ready," Elena reported to her crew. "Remember, we're not here to conquer. We're here to collect what's ours." The assault began with silence. Human soldiers moved through the station's outer sections like deadly ghosts. They didn't make noise. They didn't leave witnesses. They simply appeared, eliminated targets, and moved on. Thylorian guards found their comrades dead in hallways, killed so precisely that their medical staff couldn't understand how it happened. Some had been poisoned with compounds that only affected Thylorian biology. Others had been struck in nerve clusters that most species didn't even know existed. Dr. Chen led one of the boarding teams. His medical knowledge made him terrifyingly effective. He knew exactly where to place each shot to cause maximum damage. He knew which drugs would paralyze without killing. He knew how to make Thylorians suffer the way his daughter had suffered. "Section 7 clear," reported Sergeant Kim over the radio. "These aren't soldiers, Doc. They're just bugs in uniforms." Dr. Chen moved through the station corridors, stepping over Thylorian bodies. Each one had been killed by human weapons designed specifically for their anatomy. It was like watching a medical demonstration, except the patients didn't survive. News of the attack spread across the galaxy. Other species watched the battlefields in stunned silence. The humans weren't just winning, they were dominating completely. The mighty Thylorian Empire was being torn apart by beings they had dismissed as harmless. Ambassador Keth of the Vorthan Collective called an emergency meeting of the Galactic Council. "We need to discuss the human situation," he said nervously. "What situation?" asked the Rillian representative. "Humans are just responding to an attack on their child." "Look at the tactical reports," Keth said, his tentacles trembling. "They're not defending. They're hunting. Do you understand what we've been sharing space with?" The other ambassadors studied the data. Human forces were moving through Thylorian space like a plague. They weren't conquering territory or demanding surrender. They were systematically destroying anything connected to the officer who had killed Maya Chen. "They lied to us," whispered the Altarian delegate. "They said they were peaceful explorers. Look at their ships. Look at their weapons. They've been hiding their true strength for decades." On Cairo station, Zexai received reports of the human assault. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. How could these soft creatures fight so effectively? "Lock down all sections," she ordered. "Activate the emergency protocols." Her aide looked terrified. "Ma'am, they've already breached Section 12. They're moving toward command." Zexai checked her weapon. She was a Thylorian officer. She had fought in many battles, but something about the human attack felt different. They weren't trying to capture the station. They were coming for her specifically. Dr. Chen reached the command level first. Bodies of Thylorian elite guards lay in perfect formation along the corridor. Each had been killed with medical precision. No wasted shots, no unnecessary violence. Just efficient death delivered by someone who understood exactly how their bodies worked. Elena joined him at the entrance to the command center. "She's in there," she said quietly, barricaded with her personal guard. Dr. Chen checked his weapons. He carried tools designed specifically for Thylorian physiology, darts that would paralyze their nervous system, gas that would dissolve their breathing filters, cutting tools that could slice through their armor like paper. "Remember," Elena said, "we need her skull intact." "I know," Dr. Chen replied. "I'm a doctor. I know exactly how to do this." The final assault lasted 15 minutes. Dr. Chen and his team moved through Zexai's defenses like death itself. They used medical knowledge as a weapon, exploiting every weakness in Thylorian biology. When they reached Zexai, she was alone. Her guards were dead. Her weapons were useless against enemies who knew exactly where to strike her body. "You killed my daughter," Dr. Chen said calmly. Zexai looked at the small human who had just slaughtered her way through the station's best defenders. For the first time, she understood what Deathworlder really meant. "She attacked me," Zexai said, trying to sound strong. Dr. Chen showed her a picture of Maya playing with her red ball. She was 8 years old. HFY saw something in the human's eyes that made her chitin armor feel like paper. This wasn't just a soldier. This was a father who had lost his child, and fathers from Deathworlds were apparently much more dangerous than anyone had imagined. The galaxy would never underestimate humans again. HFY backed away from Dr. Chen until her shell hit the command center wall. She had nowhere left to run. The human stood in front of her, calm and patient like a doctor examining a patient. But his eyes held something that made her want to scream. "Please," HFY said. Her voice shook for the first time in her military career. "I was following protocol. Deathworlders are dangerous. We had to defend ourselves." Dr. Chen tilted his head slightly. Dangerous? Maya weighed 32 pounds. She was trying to retrieve her ball. He pulled out a medical scanner and pointed it at HFY. "Your skull thickness is approximately 8 millimeters at the thinnest point." Interesting. Elena and her team secured the command center while Dr. Chen worked. They had brought special equipment from Earth, recording devices to document everything, medical tools designed specifically for this moment. "The galaxy is watching," Elena told HFY. "Every species has access to these feeds. They're all learning what happens when someone hurts a human child." Across space, alien governments gathered around their screens. The humans had broadcast their assault on Cairo station to every major world. This wasn't just revenge, it was a lesson. On the Vorthon homeworld, Ambassador Keth watched with his entire cabinet. "How did we miss this?" he asked quietly. "How did we not see what they really were?" His military advisor checked their files on humanity. "Sir, we have records of first contact 50 years ago. Humans presented themselves as peaceful explorers seeking trade partnerships. Their technology seemed basic. Their ships appeared lightly armed." "They were lying." "No, sir. I think they were hiding." The truth was spreading through the galaxy like wildfire. Humans had been pretending to be weak. They had hidden their real military strength for decades. They had played the role of harmless newcomers while building an empire that could challenge anyone. But why? Dr. Chen answered that question as he prepared his instruments. "We didn't want to rule you," he told HFY. "We just wanted to live peacefully. We thought if you saw what we really were, you'd be afraid. So we pretended to be something else." He held up a small device that looked like a medical tool. "This is designed to crack Thylorian skull plates at exactly the same angle your weapon struck my daughter. I want you to experience what she felt." HFY's eyes widened in terror. "That's torture. That's against galactic law." "Galactic law?" Dr. Chen laughed, but it was a cold sound. "Where was galactic law when you murdered an 8-year-old girl? Where was justice when your government called it justified?" Elena stepped forward. "The Galactic Council had 72 hours to hand you over. They refused. They said killing human children was acceptable behavior." She checked her weapon. "So now we make our own justice." The communications system crackled to life. Admiral Rodriguez's voice filled the command center. "Dr. Chen, you have full authorization. The galaxy needs to understand the consequences of harming our young." On Earth, billions of humans watched their screens. They saw their friend and neighbor preparing to deliver justice for his murdered daughter. They saw aliens finally learning to respect human life. Dr. Chen activated his device. It hummed quietly as it charged up. "Maya's skull was cracked in 3 places," he explained to HFY. "The impact caused massive brain trauma. She died slowly, calling for me to help her." HFY tried to move, but Elena's team had secured her completely. "Please, I have younglings of my own." "So did I," Dr. Chen replied. He placed the device against HFY's head, positioning it exactly where her weapon had struck Maya. "The difference is, my daughter was innocent." What happened next became known across the galaxy as the moment. Dr. Chen activated his device. Zexai's skull cracked with the same sound Maya's had made. The alien officer screamed in pain and terror as she experienced what the little human girl had felt. But Dr. Chen wasn't finished. His medical training allowed him to keep Zexai alive and conscious through the entire process. She felt every crack, every break, every moment of agony that Maya had endured. "This is what you did to my daughter," Dr. Chen said calmly. "An 8-year-old girl who trusted adults to protect her." Across the galaxy, alien leaders watched in stunned silence. They were seeing something they had never imagined. A human showing exactly what their species was capable of when their protective instincts were triggered. On the Rillian homeworld, Supreme Chancellor Vex called an emergency session. "Immediate policy change," he announced. "All interactions with human civilians are to be handled with extreme care. Any harm to their young will be considered an act of war." The Kethmar Republic issued similar orders. The Altarian Confederacy updated their first contact protocols. Across known space, governments suddenly realized they had been making a terrible mistake for 50 years. Humans weren't just another species. They were apex predators who had chosen to be peaceful. That choice could be revoked. Dr. Chen finished his work with surgical precision. Zexai's skull was cracked in exactly the same pattern as Maya's had been. She was alive, but broken. Her mind would never recover from experiencing what she had done to an innocent child. "Her skull, intact as requested," Dr. Chen said to Elena. Elena nodded and prepared the special equipment they had brought from Earth. They would preserve Zexai's skull exactly as her weapon had cracked it. It would become a message to the galaxy. As they worked, reports came in from across Thylorian space. The Empire was collapsing. Their military was in retreat. Their government was begging for mercy from species they had once ruled. But the humans weren't conquering territory. They weren't demanding tribute or establishing colonies. They were simply making it clear that harming human children would result in swift and terrible consequences. Commander Veltar sent a desperate message to Admiral Rodriguez. "We surrender. We will hand over any officers you want. Please stop the attacks." The Admiral's reply was broadcast to every ship in the galaxy. "We don't want your surrender. We want you to remember this moment. The next time you see a human child, remember what happened to the being who hurt one of them." Dr. Chen and Elena's team left Cairo Station as quietly as they had arrived. Behind them, they left Zexai's body and a message written in her blood. She was 8 years old. The station's survivors found the message and understood. The humans weren't monsters. They were parents protecting their young. They were a species that valued their children above everything else. As the human fleet withdrew from Thylorian space, other alien governments sent urgent messages to Earth. They wanted to apologize. They wanted to ensure their own people understood the new reality. Humans were no longer the harmless newcomers everyone had dismissed. They were a species that had evolved on a death world, and they had just reminded the galaxy why that mattered. But more importantly, they had shown what happened when someone hurt their children. It was a lesson the galaxy would never forget. On the journey home, Dr. Chen sat quietly in his quarters. He held Zexai's skull in his hands, feeling its weight. Soon he would present it to the Galactic Council. Soon every species would see what human justice looked like. Maya would never come home, but no other human child would die the way she had. The galaxy had learned to fear what humans could become when their young were threatened. That was worth every life this war had cost. 3 months after Maya Chen's death, the Galactic Council building on Nexus Prime had never seen security like this. Representatives from hundreds of worlds gathered for an emergency session. They all wanted to see what humanity would do next. Admiral Rodriguez walked up the steps of the great building. She carried a simple wooden box made from earth oak. Inside was Zexai's skull, cracked exactly as Maya's had been. Dr. Chen walked beside her, quiet and dignified in his black suit. Behind them came Captain Elena Vasquez and a small honor guard of human soldiers. They moved with the easy confidence of predators who had nothing left to prove. The galaxy already knew what they were capable of. "Look at them," whispered Ambassador Keith to his aide. "They seem so small and harmless." "That's what makes them so terrifying," his aide replied. The great chamber fell silent as the human delegation entered. Every representative had watched the broadcasts of humanity's war against the Thylorian Empire. They had seen cities burn and fleets destroyed. They had watched an entire galactic power collapse in weeks. But what frightened them most was how controlled the humans had been. They hadn't destroyed worlds or enslaved populations. They had simply eliminated everyone connected to Maya's murder with surgical precision. Chancellor Orth of the Galactic Council called the session to order. His voice shook slightly. "Admiral Rodriguez, you requested this gathering. The floor is yours." Admiral Rodriguez placed her wooden box on the speaking platform. She didn't shout or make threats. She spoke in the same calm voice she might use to discuss weather. 3 months ago, an 8-year-old human child named Maya Chen was murdered by a Thylorian officer. The official ruling was that her death was justified. She opened the box and lifted out Zexhi's skull. "This is the skull of her killer." The chamber was absolutely silent. Representatives from dozens of species stared at the cracked bone. It looked so ordinary, yet it represented something that had changed the galaxy forever. "For 50 years, humanity has tried to fit into your society," Admiral Rodriguez continued. "We followed your laws. We respected your customs. We pretended to be something we weren't because we thought it would make you more comfortable." Dr. Chen stepped forward. His face was calm, but his eyes held the pain of a father who had lost everything. "We are Deathworlders," he said quietly. "Do you know what that really means?" Ambassador Yiss of the Reptilian Confederation shifted nervously. "It means you come from a dangerous world." "No," Dr. Chen replied. "It means we are the dangerous thing that world created." He gestured to the skull. "Humans evolved on a planet that tried to kill us every day. We survived ice ages that lasted millennia. We hunted creatures larger than your warships. We fought diseases that would wipe out entire star systems." Admiral Rodriguez nodded. "We learned to be patient because rushing meant death. We learned to plan because mistakes meant extinction. We learned to protect our young because without them, our species would end." The truth settled over the chamber like a heavy blanket. Every species had underestimated humanity for decades. They had seen the peaceful farmers, helpful traders, and curious scientists. They had never imagined the killers underneath. "Why did you hide this from us?" asked Representative Fell of the Aquatic Alliance. "Because we hoped we wouldn't need to be what we were," Elena answered from the back of the chamber. "We wanted to be better. We wanted to prove that Deathworlders could be peaceful." Admiral Rodriguez placed Zexhi's skull back in the box. "But we forgot something important. Peace isn't the absence of the capacity for violence. Peace is choosing not to use that capacity." She looked around the chamber at hundreds of alien faces. Some showed fear, others showed understanding. All showed new respect for the small human woman standing before them. "Maya Chen was 8 years old," Dr. Chen said. "She weighed 32 pounds. Her favorite color was purple. She wanted to be a doctor like her father so she could help people." His voice broke slightly. "Zexhi killed her for touching her foot while retrieving a ball." The Galactic Council had seen the security footage. Every representative had watched little Maya die calling for her daddy. They had seen Dr. Chen hold his daughter's broken body. They understood why humanity had reacted so violently. "What do you want from us?" Chancellor Orth asked carefully. Admiral Rodriguez smiled. It wasn't a threatening expression, but it made several representatives step back. "We want you to remember this moment. We want you to understand what happens when someone harms a human child." She gestured to the box containing Zexhi's skull. "This is not a threat. This is a promise. We will always protect our young. We will always seek justice when they are harmed. We will always remember who our friends are." The chamber erupted in nervous conversation. Representatives whispered frantically to their aides. Several governments had already sent new instructions to their diplomats. Ambassador Keth stood up. "The Vorthan Collective wishes to formally apologize for any past disrespect shown to human citizens. We are implementing new protocols to ensure the safety of all human civilians in our space." One by one, other representatives stood and made similar statements. The Rillian Republic offered to station guards around human colonies. The Aquatic Alliance proposed joint patrols to protect human trade ships. Dr. Chen listened to the apologies and promises with mixed feelings. Maya was still dead. Justice had been served, but it couldn't bring back his little girl. "There's something else you should know," Admiral Rodriguez said when the chamber quieted down. "This war cost us 3 ships and 47 soldiers. The Thylorian Empire lost over 60% of their fleet." The numbers hung in the air like a challenge. Humanity had destroyed a galactic power while barely taking casualties. The message was clear. This had not been a war. It had been an execution. Elena stepped forward. "We didn't enjoy any of this. We took no pleasure in the deaths, but we needed you to understand that human children are not acceptable targets." Chancellor Orth nodded slowly. "The Council will be implementing new guidelines for all member species. Any harm to human civilians will be investigated by joint committees. Any harm to human children will be treated as an act of war against humanity." "Good," Admiral Rodriguez said simply. She closed the wooden box and picked it up. "This skull will be placed in a memorial garden on Kepler Station. Every child who plays there will be reminded that adults are supposed to protect them." As the human delegation prepared to leave, Representative Yan of the Silicon Collective asked one final question. "Admiral, will humanity now take its rightful place as a galactic power?" Admiral Rodriguez paused at the chamber door. "We never wanted power over you. We just wanted you to treat our children with the same care you show your own." Dr. Chen added quietly, "Maya just wanted to play with her ball." The chamber remained silent as the humans left. In their wake, the galaxy began to change. New laws were written, new protocols were established, new respect was given to the species from the Death World. On Kepler Station, construction began on Maya's memorial garden. Human and alien children would play there together, protected by guards from dozens of worlds. A small plaque would remind everyone who passed. Maya Chen, age 8. She loved purple flowers and wanted to help people. Her death taught the galaxy that human children are precious beyond measure. Dr. Chen returned to his medical practice, but he was different now. He had seen what he was capable of when someone hurt his child. He hoped he would never have to become that person again. The wooden box containing Zexhi's skull was placed in the Memorial Garden's center. It wasn't a trophy or a threat. It was a reminder of the price of harming innocent children. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Humans were Deathworlders who chose to be gentle. They were predators who preferred to heal. They were killers who wanted only to protect their young. But most importantly, they were a species that never forgot and never forgave when someone hurt their children. The memorial garden opened on a bright spring day. Children from dozens of worlds played together on the soft grass. Their laughter filled the air where Maya had died. And somewhere in the sound of playing children, the galaxy found a new kind of peace, one built on understanding, respect, and the knowledge that some lines should never be crossed.